SAS, Summary, Analysis, Synthesis, responding to and integrating sources effectively. Do you know how to write a college-level research paper? Probably not. But don't worry, this slideshow will help you bring your writing to the next level. It all begins with SAS, or SAS. 3 types of writing to respond to outside sources, which you've probably heard of before. The first is summary, briefly recapping the main points in your own words. You say what an article is about. The second, analysis, closely examining something to understand its parts and the ways they work together. So you consider how the parts of the source work together. This is rhetorical analysis, and explain the writer's ideas. The third is synthesis, bringing together information from several sources to make a new point. You relate the content of one article to another and consider how this offers you insight into a new idea or point you can make. If your professors have talked to you about the conversation model of writing research papers, they're asking you for synthesis. So many of us may sound familiar. You may think that you understand most or all of the 3 types of writing to respond to sources, but there are unique features to each type that you will need to understand so you can use them most effectively. Let's start at the beginning with summary. So here's 2 sample summaries. Pick the best one. Number 1. The Little Mermaid is an animated movie about a mermaid who is obsessed with human culture. She falls in love with a human and must choose between her world and his. And the second sample. The Little Mermaid is a great animated movie about a mermaid who is obsessed with human culture. She falls in love with Prince Eric and decides to become human to be with him. So before moving on, choose what you think is the best, number 1 or number 2. So summary is briefly recapping the main point in your own words, but did you know that a summary does not contain judgment or opinion? For this reason, the first one is the more effective summary, because it contains no judgment, as the second does with Great Movie, or details the reader may not understand. In the second one, Eric is mentioned, and readers might not know who Eric is. So the good news is that if your professors require you to include an annotated bibliography, you can use the summary from that annotated bibliography in your essay to introduce your source articles. Now let's look at 2 sample analysis. Number 1, the songs in the movie are really catchy and fun. The sea witch, Ursula, sings one about poor unfortunate souls that is scary. And the second sample. The sea witch, Ursula, is made more frightening by being ugly, fat, and mean, a contrast to Ariel's beauty and sweetness. So have in your mind which one you think is more effective and why, and then we'll move on. So analysis is closely examining something to understand its parts and the ways they work together. You're considering those parts by doing a rhetorical analysis and explaining the writer's ideas. So the previous slide had 2 samples. The first one is not an analysis, it's an evaluation. It's opinion that would need support to be a really effective evaluation. The second is an analysis. It's talking about the fact that the creators of the movie chose to create this contrast between beautiful and ugly, and mean and nice, to heighten the emotional impact of the viewer by causing fright. These are rhetorical choices that impact the finished product. So rhetorical choices can be in a movie, in a book, in an article, in a commercial, in anything that's created to convey a point, right? And finally, synthesis, bringing together information from several sources to make a new point. So you relate the content of one article to another and consider how this offers you insight into a new point or idea. So after summarizing and analyzing your sources in your essay, you combine the ideas from your sources to get to that next level, to join the conversation. So rather than just relating the conversation that already exists out there by experts about your topic, you join the conversation by adding your own ideas. Let's look at the sample. Jane Doe makes a valid point that the music in The Little Mermaid heightens the movie's emotional appeal. She fails to consider John Smith's insight that the songs also offer the audience a chance to participate by singing along with the characters. The fact is, Disney movies are made to be watched again and again by viewers. This rewatching may in fact weaken the emotional impact of the songs as they become cliched for viewers, worn out, overplayed, and in the end, devoid of meaning. So can you see how there's two fake, in this case, samples? But there's two sources at the beginning, right? There's Jane Doe and then there's John Smith. And they both have different points about the Little Mermaid movie. And then I put the synthesis in blue here to kind of highlight how then you're moving into combining those sources' ideas to create your own idea, right? That in this case, the emotional appeal is lessened by rewatching, right? Because those songs become cliched and lose their impact and their meaning. So just a reminder, even though these are made up samples for the purposes of this example, you do want to cite in text. This is MLA format here, but use the format that is required for the class that you're writing for. So here are some questions to help you apply what you've learned. For summary, have I clearly conveyed the writer's main point? Have I avoided including my opinion or any judgment, good or bad, in the summary? So you want to keep your opinion and your judgment out so that you're establishing ethos and the reader can trust you, right? Okay, this writer is giving me a good idea of this source without bogging it down in their own opinions. With analysis, did I consider the rhetorical choices the source writer made and how it impacts his/her point? Did I explain the writer's ideas and how they impact my own? So making sure that as you conduct that analysis that you make clear where the distinction between the writer's ideas and your own. And then synthesis. Did I relate the ideas from two or more sources to each other clearly? So using those signal phrases, introducing the source name, I'm citing them properly as well, to kind of differentiate from one source and another, and then your own ideas. Did I explain how the combination of multiple sources led me to that whole new idea or point? So have I transitioned well between the source ideas and my own? Will the audience accept my reasoning? Is it logical? Have I clearly laid out my argument and defended it and made sense to the audience? And then finally, is my new idea or point original and insightful? So is it really new? Or is there a source out there that has already made this point? So if you're going to join the conversation, you have to do enough research to understand the conversation that's out there on your topic, right? You need to know what the experts are saying and have said about this topic so that you can make sure that when you synthesize, when you join that conversation, you are offering new ideas and joining the conversation. So keep reviewing this slideshow and use what you learned here to help you write logical, persuasive, and insightful college-level research papers that include artful use of sources. I wish you the best of luck. Bye.